over into him being a good president for us conservatives. We know that he's going to do what he needs to do to get it done. Now, your question is, what do you mean by get it done? Does that mean implement his liberal policy since he's really a Democrat in disguise? He's a wolf in sheep clothing? No, we know what his principles are. And he's not violating, I mean, you may be thinking, well, he's violating his principles by giving to those who don't share his principles, who are going to be making policy that are against his principles. No, he is playing the game to win the game. And he's playing within the rules. His principles need to take a back seat because him being a business owner comes first as a business owner. He wasn't a politician. Now that he's a politician, it's all about policy, right?
Right.
So that being said, his policy is going to be based on his principles, and he's going to tell everybody what his principles are. And it sounds to me like when he says that his principles are conservative, we can look back to incidences where he kind of tips his hand on what his principles are, even as a business person. And we have a long history of that. We have op-eds where he's supporting the police. Back in the 80s, he's supporting Giuliani and his buildup of the police in order to rein in the lawlessness that was happening in New York, and he wrote op-eds on that were exposed by what's her name, Ann Coulter.
Right.
She said, "Hey, this guy's a conservative all the way back to the 80s."
And I know a lot of you folks that are seasoned veterans. I understand where you're coming from when it comes to the politics of the politics, and we really, really despise the anger and the fight and the lies and the things that the liberals, they're always coming at you with pitchforks, or the media, they're always coming at you with pitchforks, and it's just like, oh, they're so awful, but yeah, I'm not going to play their game. We've got a candidate now who, let's go back to the candidate we had before. Let's go back to 2012. The last three debates between Obama and
Mitt Romney.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
First debate you and I watched.
Oh yeah.
And
it was a celebration.
It was a bloodbath. So much so,
he was relentless. He was angry, and oh my gosh.
Second debate, he just told bro, you need to pull back a little bit. Be a little too hard on him.
Everybody was afraid that he was being too hard on him.
We did the polls. The polls are the moderates. They don't like that anger. They don't like that fight. They don't like that biting.
But when he did that, remember Chris Matthews' reaction and everybody else? They were all angry at Obama for getting trounced so one-sidedly. And let me tell you something. That has an effect. When you have Chris Matthews telling all of the people who would be going out to vote for Obama that he got trounced in the debate, it doesn't matter about that. Okay, well, maybe he was a little harsh. Maybe he was a little bit angry. Maybe he was a little bit over the top. Maybe he was a little bit, just beating him down, doing it too harsh.
Right.
All right, but when the Democrats who would go out and vote for him hear about how bad he got beat, they're going to stay home.
And they did. They said tens of thousands of people didn't vote. Less voted for Obama second time around the first time. However,
the second two debates.
However, Mitt Romney, more people stayed home for Mitt Romney. What a shame. However, okay. Yeah. Now, the point I'm trying to make, we have an uncanny
potential
nominee. Candidate that don't take no shit from nobody. Come at me as you will, I will come right back at you. Remember, Hilary Clinton called him a sexist. Said that Donald Trump was a sexist.
Okay,
womanizer.
I thought that was Megyn Kelly.
Well, that too. Have you heard that since?
No. And is there a reason for that?
Yeah.
What's that?
Trump stuffed them back in their hole and said, I'll tell you what, Do that again, we'll talk about your husband and everything he's been doing.
Oh, yeah, she can't say a word.
Because you know I'm not doing it.
The bimbo eruption.
And you're projecting. Dude, who does that? What
she can't say a word to him about it.
And politicians won't do that because, like you and I talked, and the prime example is, I've been going to church all my life since a young kid. Carrie started going to church as an older kid. An older man.
Right.
And this is what I'm saying. Carrie is Trump, and I am Ted Cruz. Okay? Ted Cruz has been groomed as a politician all his life. Me, I've been in the church all my life. Trump has not, and Carrie has not. I cannot pull the words GD out of my mouth. It just cannot. It is physically an impossibility for me to slip that out. Just couldn't happen. Carrie, on the other hand, well, you know, it's just
sometimes it slips out.
My bad. And that's cool. That's cool. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not trying to crack on Carrie. I'm trying to make an example. Okay. There are things that Ted Cruz, regardless of how he feels and how he thinks, he will not say them and he will not do them because he's been groomed as a politician, and that's the unspoken rule. You don't
certain things that he knows to never cross the line on.
You don't step on those toes. You can do this and this, but you don't do that. You do this and this, and you don't. Same with Mitt Romney. Believe in the polls. The polls tell you moderates don't like the fighting and the anger.
And believe that he needs the moderates.
Correct. Now, you've got Trump, who don't know the rules. We've told you on this show how he doesn't know the inside game that these politicians play, yet at the same time, he's schooling them at their own game. It's quite amazing. So all the media types, and look what he's done to Fox. To the average conservative out there in America, look what Trump has done for us about Fox.
Well, the weird thing about Fox is I started watching it right before the 2000 election, and it was kind of in its infancy. Fox News was born in 95, 96, so it was only about four years or so old. And so the whole entire network was totally fledgling. And I honestly believe that it was the 2000 election debacle that really elevated them and probably MSNBC to the heights that they got to.
Right.
And I considered them to be very conservative, especially compared to the rest of the networks out there.
And all the other networks and all the other liberals, look at you and your Fox News.
Right. And during the entire reign of George W. Bush, I considered them to be very solidly and consistently conservative at all times.
They were good to Bush.
What's going on between Trump and Fox, somehow, some way, I don't know. I'm still very, very conservative. Very conservative. You won't see or hear me ever say or support a cause would be considered liberal at all. Not even the least bit, because it's my opinion that every single little thing that liberals believe in is 180 degrees wrong. Right?
Correct.
And funny thing is, now that Trump's there, ironically, the guy that they're saying is a Democrat in disguise, it makes it somehow, I don't know how he did it, but it makes somebody like me start to look at Fox News as, whoa, what's going on here? You guys have swung to the left. What happened? You swung to the left.
And then the CEO of Fox News comes out that he is a left-wing.
It's falling on deaf ears.
It's unbelievable. However, he will not back down from the attacks, and he will go on the aggressive. Now, yes, this last debate that they had, him and Jeb, whoo, they got into it hardcore. It was a little tense. It was a little tough. I understand that. But where's Jeb now?
Right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So on Fox Business News, there's a guy named Lou Dobbs. He has a show.
Sometimes his monologues are awesome. He gets vicious sometimes.
And he did a little thing on Trump from back in the day. And let's see, Trump's words from 15 years ago. And he kind of talks about Trump for just about a minute or two. So I would want to play that.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. And then we'll kind of move on to some other things because we're coming up on 7:30 and we got to talk about the iPhone ordeal.
Yes, we will talk about the iPhone. Let's hear it.
Donald Trump is not only a serious but a successful candidate. That's for starters, at least for the past 3 months, during which he's been the front runner throughout. But also, Trump is arguably, something more substantive than the governor can imagine. As a matter of fact, we could argue that he foresaw something like September 11th more than a year before the tragedy that occurred. And Trump was absolutely correct in his book, The America We Deserve. That book was published back in 2000. He wrote more than a year before the September 11th attack a warning of the terrorist threat to our country.
That's kind of amazing.
He said this, "I really am convinced we're in danger of the sort of terrorist attacks that will make the 1993 bombing of the Trade Center look like kids playing with firecrackers." Woo. Trump went on to add, "One day we're told that a shadowy figure with no fixed address named Osama bin Laden is public enemy number one, and U.S. jet fighters lay waste to his camp in Afghanistan. He escapes back under some rock. And a few news cycles later, it's on to a new enemy, a new crisis." Now, in my opinion, those words from 15 years ago are some of the most substantive thoughts we've heard from any of these presidential candidates of either party.
So specific,
and Trump
too.
has proved to be remarkably prescient. In fact, it turns out there is no question about who is the more serious candidate on the issue of foreign policy in either party.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I've heard that before, but it should be repeated often. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. No, again.
There are people that were running our country at the time that were nowhere near at the level of foreign policy that one little excerpt from his book shows. I mean, literally, people that were running our country were not, maybe some CIA people. So Trump, as a businessman back in 2000, was at least on par with our own CIA,
right,
with regards to foreign policy
right.
in America. It just blows my mind.
Right, without a doubt.
That's mind blowing.
Over the weekend, during all the election and everything, the government released some more of Hillary's emails. And there was an email from Sid Blumenthal, her close confidant, who she could not make a government official.
Oh, that's the Sid Vicious guy.
Sid Vicious guy.
Oh, yeah, this guy is just the fact that she would be in cahoots with any, or even friends with somebody like this guy. I mean, could you imagine? She becomes president. This guy's going to be a major player in American, just running the country.
Right. So according to emails between her and Sid, there was a claim that Hezbollah, an Iran-backed terrorist organization, ISIS, ISIL, whatever the case may be, has set up shop in Cuba.
Okay.
And then the whole article details the entire email between her and him. So more emails out on Hilary of top secret intelligence information on an unsecured email server.
Was the server in Cuba? Or at least they were getting emails.
Well, the one that was in the closet was in Cuba. It was in a Cuban closet, humidor thing.
Oh, humidor? Okay. Because you got to watch out for the temperature. Yeah. I mean, if it gets too dry. If a server gets too dry, that could spell trouble.
If she doesn't go to prison, justice will not be served.
No, and that's a major problem. I mean, there are people... Those people in Oregon, they're talking about serving very long prison sentences. And yet...
She's done exponentially worse.
Yeah, Petraeus just completely destroyed. And what he did was child's play. Richard Nixon got way worse. What Hillary's even being threatened with right now. And she's done hundreds of times worse than what Nixon did. Hundreds of times.
Absolutely.
So anyway.
Susan Sarandon's not voting with her vagina this year.
Oh, good.
She said she's voting for Bernie. And no, just because she's a woman doesn't